Stevie Fast Jackson, Bahrain 1 Racing with another episode of YouTube Q&A. Thank you guys for keeping your questions and comments coming. Thank you for supporting our YouTube channel. If you've got a topic that you want us to cover, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click on the bell icon and hashtag Q&A. Comment in any video, and we will try to get it a topic that we talk about, as long as it's something we can talk about. Some of you guys' questions are pretty awesome. I would love to talk about some of them, but the YouTube Nazis that get on me. We'll start with our first one. I've noticed the ProCharger banner on the wall. What's your opinion on the ProCharger? I came from nitrous and ProCharger racing. I started racing ProCharger in 2006, 2007. Ran it for almost a decade, and I have a lot of experience with it. I think it's an awesome power adder. I think it's I think there's a lot of room for development in it, and the customer service in that company is what makes it unique. Definitely a bunch of awesome guys and people that work there. And the ProCharger combination is definitely making a comeback in mainstream. You'll see a lot more people swapping to that combination than what you've already seen going into 2021. No prep stretch. What will a G-meter pull timing? There's a bunch of wazoo electronics manufacturers out there that build all kind of trick gizmos that will use a G-meter to turn on an output to pull timing or add timing. I get more questions about gizmos in the race car. I'm an anti-gizmo guy. I wish we could take it all the way, throw it in the trash, get us a 6-shooter and a mag, and let's go racing. So the more gizmos that you have, the more driver aids that you have, the more stuff that you have that'll fail. So I'm an anti-gizmo guy. What is the highest launch G you've ever had? I'd have to look, but I want to say we've launched a car 3.5 to 4 Gs on a really good racetrack. That's something that's running 890s, 60 foot. And what's really impressive is not the launch G meter. It's on the fast radial tire car runs, a Marcus Bird or JR Gray run, or even the Shadow when it's making bacon out there. That thing will go from 9/10 to 1.6, and it'll be pegged off the top of the screen over 4 Gs. When you lose sight of the G meter off top of the screen, you're running pretty good. So we try to sustain 4 Gs and upwards of that for as long as we can. And when it does that, I don't want to say that it takes your breath away, because you get used to it, but it would probably take most of you guys' breath away. It's pretty awesome. When I get out of the car and I'm like, whoo, that was fast. That was a 4G plus operation.
All right, keep your head back. Start the light bar. Rebuild.
What type of lawnmower do you use to gap your neighbor? All right, so right now, if you speak current 2021, I have a Toro 0-turn. But what we're going to do is we're going to go back into the... All right, so I have as most of you can probably figure out, I have a serious problem with losing at anything. My motto literally in life is that in all things, it doesn't matter what you do, somebody has to win and somebody has to lose at everything. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's getting milk off the grocery store shelf.
And there goes Mike. He has a whole different plan.
Cutting your grass, pressure washing your concrete. I don't care if you're driving beside me on the interstate. I don't want you to be in front of me or beat me. So as you can tell by most of the stuff that you've seen from me, lawnmower, I don't have a slow lawnmower. We're going to put some footage up of me and my neighbor, Marcus Proctor, drag racing lawnmowers in the early 2000s. I had a Craftsman. I had it pretty souped up. I don't remember if I won this race or not, but we'll let you guys look at it. And as you can tell by me looking like an idiot, I wanted to win that just as much as I want to win the U.S. Nationals. So we'll put up some footage of that and let you guys laugh at how silly I really am.
David, I need it right. Look at it.
True story. True story. We can't get off this. Every person that drag races wants to win all the time. True story. Back in some year previous, in some foreign country, myself and a group of motorsports enthusiasts, we'll call them drag racers, we got sanded out of a racing event, and we decided we went to the store and got some beverages and decided that we were going to have a rental car bracket race. Well, myself and the other racers indulged too much in the beverages, and the next thing you know, we're ripping the seats out of the rental cars and putting nitrous oxide on. I had a Mitsubishi. Ricky Smith had a Toyota. Me and Ricky get all the way to the final in this bracket race. Now, you would think that as people who race cars that go 250 miles an hour, we don't care about it anymore. Me and Ricky are head-to-head in this bracket race. We both want to win. And I think he crushed me. I think I lost. But no matter what we're doing as racers, I don't care if we're racing lawnmowers or bracket racing Mitsubishis, we want to win. So, Ricky, I want to say Ricky crushed me. I have to go back to my spreadsheet and see. Hey, Stevie, huge fan of yours. Do you ever think we'll see pro mods under NHRA regulations in the fours? Probably not. Absolutely not. NHRA is not going to allow that to happen. We don't have tires and equipment that are certified to go that fast at that much weight. They wouldn't be safe. A suspended car running for anything's not good. I think a good run being in the mid to high 60s is the sweet spot for now, unless we start getting weight off of them. We're at the limit of where a lot of places it's difficult to stop, and if you have a chute failure, you can't stop. So I think that the 60s and 70s is kind of the sweet spot. Why'd you stop hossing the gas on your competitors?
I know we went over some terms last time, a year ago, but I've got a few emails, and I need to know what hossing the gas is.
Hossing the gas is when you're out there. Most of the time you'll be running against a turbo car when you hoss the gas, but you'll be out there on that and you want to give him a little courtesy pat and let him know that he's doing a good job. So you'll just reach over and crack the throttle a little bit, let him know he's still in the race.
And why do pro mods come to a complete stop before they do their burnouts? Keep on kicking ass, stay safe. Thank you, JD. I still hoss the gas sometimes. In NHRA quarter-mile racing, the engine is absolutely either blown up or ready to blow up by the time you get there. And not to mention, you're traveling at 300 feet per second. So an extra of half a second for a throttle whop or a second down there, you're going to run it in the sand. With the 8th mile stuff, there's plenty of times with the Shadow that I still give everybody a courtesy pat. One of the reasons you've seen it slow down is because it's really expensive to tear up the engines and the superchargers that we have now. Nothing in the drivetrain. When you have a screw-blown Hemi making 4,000 horsepower with a 5-speed and a lockup, there's nothing that's excited about you ripping the throttle. That's why it's slowed down. I promise to never, ever eradicate the gas hossing. It's a courtesy pat. So let the competitor know that we are happy that you're here and thanks for playing. And why do pro mods come to a complete stop before they do their burnouts? A lot of people don't. I love a rolling burnout. If it's up to me, I would hit the water at 70 miles an hour, rip the throttle on that thing 3 times, and burn out to a quarter mile. Billy Stockland, my crew chief, if you ever watch him when he's pulling me in the water, Jack's in front of him doing like this because Jack wants me to rip through there at 60, and Billy's doing like this because Billy wants me to be at a stop. For a lot of guys, they just do it the same all the time to create a consistent tire temperature on the starting line. We monitor. We have 2 infrared. Well, we have more than that. But we have 2 infrareds that are related to temperature. We measure track temperature, tire temperature in real time, and then we spreadsheet that in our data to know the difference between the track temperature and the tire temperature and what seems to work the best on a given surface on a given day. So a lot of guys, if you do a rolling burnout, it's just kind of important to do the same thing. If you do a stop burnout, if you ever notice when I'm racing and Billy's not around, I'm doing a rolling burnout. Don't tell him. He's mad at me. Apparently, okay, here we go, Robert. Apparently, there are motor parts that cannot be inspected before catastrophic failure and rely on a logbook for cycle time. Can you explain how often you replace parts, what can be expected, what cannot, and perhaps send back to manufacturer for inspection before replacing? This is a really long question, but yes, there's my engine guy and our team. We run a service life on every part on the car. And I can tell you at any given time, if I go in our logbooks, how many runs are on the valves in this set of heads, how many runs are on the springs, how many runs are on the retainers, locks, pistons, rods, cranks, everything. The whole race car has a service life. Every component is different, and a lot of it depends on whether you're testing or racing or whether you're running 1/8 mile or 1/4 mile. But to give you an example, we pull crankshafts out of the engines at 25 runs, and we magnaflux them, check them for cracks. If they're good, they go back in for service. Connecting rods get changed 20 runs or sooner. If I'm in the engine after 15, it gets rods. There's several times when we'll go through, we buy, I think last year we went through 26 or 27 sets of connecting rods. So every so many batches of rods, when we take them out at 20 runs and they haven't had a traumatic life cycle, meaning no drivetrain failures happened or Billy hadn't leaned the engine out 12 gallons per minute on the top end and it hadn't blown up.
Two great competitors. Stevie Fast carrying the nose of the Shadow almost. Oh, man, Fast drove over the crankshaft out there at about 1,000 feet. You saw that big hunk of smoke come out of the back of it. That thing is dead as a duck as he goes.
And we'll send the rods back and let the manufacturer, let GRP look at them. And they can kind of tell us, yeah, you're there. Yeah, we think you have a couple more runs on them. Let's stop. So we do that. Valves, 50 runs or less, depending on trauma. A lot of guys put valves in at 25 runs. Springs, 50 runs or less, depending on trauma. A lot of this stuff has a very delicate life cycle. It can run more runs. If you're running it hard, whenever you're in the stretch, you're running for a championship, you go to a lot of final rounds, the life cycle on the parts gets less. I could give you a whole list of everything in the car, but it's so variable depending on what you're doing to it. You're going to get more runs out of the parts in Bristol because they're not doing as much. You don't have power. If you were running Gainesville all the time and had good air, you'd get less runs. Also, RPM determines that. Screw blower stuff on the Shadow, the engine turns 11,000 RPM, so the service life is less. But yes, to answer your question, there's a cycle time for everything, and then there's a lot of times we'll send parts back to the manufacturer and have them inspected.
Split.
Oh yeah.
Send that back to him. Tell me about the malfunction.
Tell me he warned it.